Good morning. How is everybody? I thought maybe it wasn't working because nobody was coming. I was like, oh no. Anyways, I'm just going to do the prep video for the new Stitchalong, which is the plant sanctuary Stitchalong. So you can see I've added a bit more, playing with some ideas down here for the rug. So we'll see if that stays or if it goes. I don't know. A couple things I want to say. Hold on. What are you doing? No, we just planted all this stuff, and she's taking stuff out of the garden and eating it. Okay. You can't do that. We have plants. Get in, Jesse. In. Now, in. Come on. Hurry up. I'm busy. Come on. Go. Sorry, guys. Okay. So we just planted watermelons, cauliflowers, all kinds of stuff last night. And Jessie is obsessed with them. She keeps ripping them out of the ground and taking them over. And yeah, I'm really sorry. It's gonna be in my video now, so that's fantastic. Okay, anyways, you can see that I have added more to the sample pattern. Some things might stay, like this right here. It might stay or I might rip it out. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But none of the stitches that I've used so far are particularly difficult. It's just the way that we're using them is going to be more time, okay? So all of you people who like to have the Monday's day finished before you go to Tuesday, that's not going to happen. All right. So I'm going to show you how to do it. It'll be about 30 to 40 minutes, I would say, of the video. The instruction will be at the beginning, like it always is. So I try to do at least one whole leaf, for example, so that you know how to do it. And then the rest of the time will just be me stitching and chatting and whatever. Okay. So when I say advanced, the advanced part about it is the size and the amount of stitching, not necessarily the kinds of stitches that we've used. So far in this pattern here, I have taught every single stitch before in a different stitch along. So don't look at it and think, oh, there's no way I can do that. Because if you've done even one stitch along before, you can do all of this. All right. The second thing I'm going to say is please don't compare yourself to other people because yours might be a little bit different. Your skill level might be different. This might be your second hoop. That's okay. All right. We're all just kind of figuring it out together. All right. So if yours looks a little bit different, then that's okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the table here and talk about all the different things, and then I'll show you how to hoop your fabric, and I'll show you how to transfer your pattern onto the fabric. So you can either transfer it or you can print it on the sulky. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about are needles. Now, a lot of people say, what kind of needle do you use and what size is it? I use a bunch of different needles. They're all antique needles, meaning that I got them out of a sewing box that I bought at a charity shop. So I get a lot of stuff from charity shops. It's super good. So this is the one I use the most. The one thing I will say, though, is that you want to match the shaft of your needle, which is this part here. Okay, you got the pointy end, you've got the eye where the thread goes in. You want to match the thickness of this to approximately how many strands you're going to use. So that's why I normally use 3 different ones. So it's these 3 here. So I've got Beauty Blogger, the thicker one for 6 strands, and then I've got this medium size one for like 2 or 3, and then I've got this really tiny one for just 1 strand. And you can see that the thicknesses, they go smaller as they go down, and the eye of the needle is also, let's see, there you go. You can see it a bit better, way smaller as you go down. Now, the reason for this is because when you put a hole in your fabric, okay, let's just poke a hole in here. That hole is how many strands can fit through there, okay? So if you make quite a big hole like that, if you put it on the dark, yeah, and you put 1 strand through, then you are going to have quite big holes where your stitches are because you're only putting 1 strand through. But if you switch to a smaller needle, like this, and you use just 1 strand, then you can't see those holes as well. And I think it's probably easier to see on a hooped because it stretches. So let's try it again. Maybe. And if you do just 1, you do have, there are holes there. Okay, they're just not as big. So there's a big tip for doing, choosing your needle, is that if you want to use less strands, then you can use a smaller needle. But if you're having trouble, like if you're having trouble threading your needle, or if you're having trouble actually pulling your needle through the fabric, that might mean that you need a bigger needle. Okay, a lot of people like the DMC 1 to 5 pack. I do have it over here, so I can show you what they look like. And a lot of people also like the Chanel needles. Oops, I've got a problem here. Okay, so these are the Chanel needles. They have a very big eye. See? Very big eye. And they're also very thick on this part. They're a little bit shorter than embroidery needles. And then here's the DMC 1 to 5 pack. So you can see the difference in the eye shape and how long they are. And then also the shaft of the needle here is much, much thicker. So lots of people use these and they like them. Lots of people use these and they like them. You need to find what works for you. So as much as you can say, oh, I use this one, I might say that and you might not like the one that I use, you know? Plus I don't know. So I don't actually know what size it is. Now, the other thing you can do is you can download the John James needle, what's it called? John James needle chart. And that's really great because if you have a needle that you like and you want to buy more of that specific one, what you do is you print the PDF and it gives you all of the needles all laid out. I used to have it here, but I think I threw it away because they didn't have my needle on it. And that way you can kind of see this is how long it is, this is how thick it is, blah, 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 blah. So that's a really good thing if you want to. It's John James, like the men's names, and then needles. Just type that in your browser and then it should come up with like a needle sizer or something like that. And you can kind of have a look at those. So yeah, these are just some extra tools that I like to use. So that's needles. We should be good with just your regular 6-strand or 4-strand needles. We're not going to use a lot of super, super small ones, surprisingly. I will use, we won't use 1 strand, but we will use 2 or 3. So just keep that in mind, I guess, when you're making your selections or having things out to, grab. I like to gather all my stuff together and put it like in a little box or like in a little crate so that you have it all there. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is transferring your pattern, all right? And the tools that you'll need to do that. So the first thing you'll need is a utensil. And these are all just writing utensils. Some of them you can buy at stationery shops. Some you can get at like Joann's, or if you're in America, or Michael's if you're in America, or you can get them at Hobbycraft if you are in the UK, or you can look at a smaller like an independent shop, obviously, because they're always great to look there. Okay, so the first one is just a regular pencil. So if you really can't get out and do anything, this one's not sharp, so I actually can't show you. But just a regular pencil. It can work. The downside of a pencil is that you can't erase it. So if you make a mistake or if you don't stitch directly on the line, you'll be able to see your pencil marks, okay? But if worse comes to worse, a pencil can work. The second way is I got this at Joann's. It's a air erasable pencil, disappearing ink, not pencil, pen. So it's like a felt tip marker on the very top, okay? And I do this every single time, but I think the last time I bought one of these was like 2015, so this is really old. And then this line will just erase over time, okay? So I would not recommend it for this because obviously we're going to work on this for a month. So in about 2 or 3 days, this will completely be gone. So not the best. But if you want to continually redraw, then you can use one of these. The next one is the Carrying Water Erasable Pen. I'm sure they have other brands. This one's quite nice, but you need to erase it with water. So if you do any kind of watercolor on your fabric, not recommend this. But if you aren't going to, if you're just going to use regular, any kind of color fabric like this, then this would be great because you just wash it off with water when you're done and you're good to go. So that's a nice choice. If you have a dark fabric, you can use the water-soluble marking pen, Pencil Tory. And it's just a white pencil. I can't actually make the lines because it's white on white, but it'll come off with water. So you just make your marks, get it wet, and then it will be gone when you're done. The one that I like the best is the Friction Heat Erasable pen. They come in different thicknesses. So I often use the purple one or the blue one with 0.5 because it's a very, very small tip. Yeah. And it makes really thin lines. Okay. Now these are actually friction erasable. So on paper, they will erase with the rubber with the eraser that they provide on the back, but on fabric, they won't. So we can use a blow dryer and blow dry that off. So you can see the difference. This is a 7, this is a 5. And then lastly, we have a 10. Now I got all of these in Target in America, but you can find them a lot of places. So apparently they have them at Tesco. They have them at Sainsbury's if you're in America or in the UK. So you can totally see the difference between the 10, the 7, and the 5. So it doesn't really matter which one you pick. Hi, George. But yeah, sorry. But yeah, they're great because really you can just blow dry them off. The only thing is I would stay away from the orange one and the red one because they seem to leave more of a yellow mark when you blow dry. So I can go upstairs and blow dry. I'm not going to do it because my blow dryer is upstairs, but I can run upstairs, blow dry these off. You could also use an iron if you wanted to, and iron them off. Everybody knows George now, huh? And iron them off, and that's fine too. I don't like using the iron afterwards because sometimes it can make your threads a little bit shiny, almost like they're melted, but they're not melted. So that's not my number one way to do it. I actually like using the blow dryer. But there's all the writing utensils. So I would definitely try one of these. I include one of these pens in every single kit that you purchase. So if you want to grab a kit before the Stitchalong, then you get a pen that goes with it. So that's fun. But any way of these are fine if you want to trace your pattern. Okay, so this is obviously for tracing onto fabric. All right. Now, how to do that is first, if you want to trace it, okay, you need to print your pattern out. Now, it's sized for a 9-inch hoop. So what you need to do, let me zoom out just a little bit. When you print your pattern, is make sure that when you print it, it's printed at 100%. Now, oftentimes the default settings for your printer or for your like your print settings in whatever document, like your PDF document, they'll be at like 96% or 92%, something like that. And it's because it will try and fit the image to the paper. And we want it printed at 100%. And this gives exactly 9 inches. Okay, so we're measuring to the inside here because obviously we can't stitch on that lip unless you use a bigger hoop first. So we're gonna cut this here right to the inside of this lip, and it should fit in here perfectly, just like that. Okay, now I have printed one out if you don't print it at 100%, and it looks like this. And this is an 8-inch hoop. So I did have someone say, I've printed it and it prints at 8 inches. Is that correct? And no, it needs to be 9 inches if you want to do exactly the same as me. Now, if you do have it like this and you've already done it, then that's fine. That's completely fine. It really isn't a problem at all. It'll just be a little bit smaller. So some of the details might not be there. Okay? Meaning that like your plant might be really tiny. So I have really small fingers and like this plant is really quite small. And actually on here, it's also quite small. So it's bigger because we want to keep the details kind of as big as possible so that you can, I keep touching this, can't stop, so that you don't have to do such tiny, small little things. So this is an 8-inch hoop. This is a 6-inch hoop. So if you really have to, if you cannot get a 9-inch hoop, then I would not go any smaller than 8. And actually this is a little bit too big for this 8-inch hoop. So have a think about that, okay? So what you're gonna do is cut this out right around along the inside. Remember, every hoop is different. That's why I'm not a fan of those back things. Okay, and then this should fit right in there to trace. Okay, so let me show you how to trace it real quick. So we're gonna do the hoop the fabric, and then I'll show you how to trace it on there. Okay, now I don't know what fabric I'm gonna use yet. I feel like I should probably just use white because that will be the easiest for everybody. But until I've figured it out, I'm just going to use this scrap piece that I had laying around. So first, before we hoop it, we need to talk about fabric. Now, I'm using 100% cotton. It's just a regular, what are 8 or 9-inch hoops in centimeters? You're going to have to Google that. Just Google CM2IN, and then you can pop it in because I don't know off the top of my head, unfortunately. So for the fabric, you can use a regular 100% cotton. If you are in America, you can go to Joann Fabrics, and they have 2 different kinds. You can get the Kona cotton, which is a little bit expensive. I think it's about $9.99 or $11.99 US dollars per yard, which is 3 feet. And it's really nice. It's a really nice quality fabric. I used to have some, but I've used it all. Or you can get the, let me see if I can get this right. I think it's called Country Classics Quilting Cotton. And I think that's like $4.99 maybe, or $5.99. So it's a little bit more cheap for obviously a yard. This is a white cotton that I get locally to me. They don't have an online shop, so unfortunately I cannot recommend them. So it's just a white 100% cotton fabric. A couple people have said they've bought 100% cotton and it's been too thin. And the problem with that is the weight. So if you have something that's quite lightweight, then it will be see-through. So just have to, you know, have a play with that. So you can use that. You can also use linen. So that's what this is actually. It is well, it's actually lighter in person than it is on camera, but it's like a gray linen. And it has more of like a rustic kind of feel to it. So you can actually see the threads a little bit more than you can with this one. So if we put them next to each other like this, let's see if I can get closer even. So here, the threads are quite small, very close together, and you can't see them so well. But for this one, there's almost like little, let me flip it over actually, because you can see it better. There's almost like little things running through. Okay, now there's different kinds of linen too. So with fabric, there's so many now that it is a little bit difficult to navigate. But kind of any 100% cotton, you should be okay. All right. If you don't have cotton, or if you're like, I'm a little bit tight on money, I can't be buying stuff, like so much stuff, go look into your linen cupboard and see if you have an old bed sheet that's cotton. A lot of times those are a really nice weight. You can use pillowcases, you can use tablecloths. I've even used like an old men's dress shirt that was cotton before. So if you're really struggling, have a look around and see if you can sacrifice something to the embroidery gods and make your project with that. So this is another regular linen. It's got little speckles in it. It's quite nice. But yeah, you can always find something in the house if you are really, really desperate. But yeah, try those places. I know sometimes Hobbycraft does have cotton, but they often don't have white cotton, and I don't know why. I've checked so many times when I was first starting out, and they don't seem to have any. So you can use a patterned one, pillowcases. You can use I really wanted to use this one, but I couldn't really make it work. You can do like a patterned one if you want. Before you hoop your fabric, you can use watercolor if you wanted. I did a little test. Probably threw it away knowing me. But yeah, I did a little test with watercolor, and you can do like a little watercolor wash on some of it if you wanted to. There's all kinds of things you can do with this. You can do half, which is what I attempted to do here, but actually didn't have the right thing for it. But you can attempt to do half the bottom part, because obviously there's a line down the middle here that we're going to cover up with the skirting board. So what you could do is do half of it like a color for the floor, or half of it a color for the background, and then kind of work with that. So you can use like a stick and stay spray, or you can use an interfacing for that. There's all kinds of options. So really, the advanced part of the stitch along isn't necessarily in the stitching. It can also be with how you prep your hoop and what you do with it. So, which this was just scrap, so I'm not going to do it. But yeah, there's lots of things that you can try, lots of things that you can do. So don't just think, oh, I've just got plain white fabric, I can't do anything else. There's lots of stuff you can do with it. Get out your watercolors. I will say though, if you use watercolors, do not use a water erasable pen. Okay? It sounds like a no-brainer, but I cannot tell you the amount of times that I've watercolored on my fabric and then went, oh no, how am I going to get the pattern off? And I've had to either start again or take a chance. So let's talk about hooping your fabric. So I like to leave, I always see this is not a scientific process, okay? Have a think about what you want to do with the embroidery after. I used acetone to clean my scissors, finally, okay? And now it makes this noise. Oh, it's not doing it now. Did you hear that? Why is it doing that? They don't sell alcohol. See? Do you hear that? They don't sell alcohol like they do in the States. So I couldn't use just like alcohol to do that. All right, so what I like to do is have a think about what you want to do before you even start. So I know Laura, she is making little pouches, okay? And so she's cut the pattern up, and I'll show you how she's done that later. I think she printed them on sticky solvy, to be fair, but you don't have to do that. You could do something else. You could just trace the pattern. But to have a think about what you want to do before. So if you wanted to put it on a bag or something, put it right on the bag and get started. If you want to make it into a banner, then this kind of shape is not going to be for you. You want to cut out the shape of your banner before you start. Okay? So just have a little think about what you actually want to do with this when you're done. If you're going to leave it in the hoop like this, then you're good to go. All right? Just measure out a little bit around the edge and get started. Okay? So what we want to do after you figure out what you want to do with that part of the song was always so loud. But after you figure out what you actually want to do with your fabric when you're done with the pattern, we're going to take apart the 2 rings. Now, obviously, I'm showing you on a smaller one because I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. So if I do use sticky solvy, obviously I'll tell you and I'll show you how I prep that as well. But I might just use plain white fabric because it'll be easier for everyone to see the stitches. But a part of me is like, oh, I just want to do something different and fun. So we'll see. We'll see what I decide. But this is the basic of hooping your fabric anyways, which you'll need to do before you do the sticky solvy and before you print trace your pattern. Okay? So you're going to put the outer ring over the inner ring, and I like to make the lines. So do you see the weave of the fabric? I like it to go up vertical and then horizontal like this. So I don't like it to be like this kind of way where it makes an X. I'm not sure if that actually matters, but that's what I've done. So what I'm going to do now is tighten it about halfway, and then you're going to pull this fabric all the way around. Jesse's thinking, I could go back outside and eat those carrots, I think. Okay, so I've pulled it. It's not tight enough yet, so you're going to twist it again. Now, some hoops have, at the very end here, a place where you can put your screwdriver in and really tighten them up. Some of them don't. So this one does. This one doesn't. Yeah. So it's not that one is better than the other because I've done lots of embroideries on hoops that don't have the... Okay, that's about as... Yeah, maybe another solid color that could still trace. So many options, definitely. Especially with the background that we're going to do on there. So like you could get really creative with the background color. So the other thing that you can do with this is if you have a small pair of pliers, we want to really get that fabric tight. And what we're looking for is for it to be drum tight. So it sounds like a drum. Okay, and then let's pull that one more time all the way around. You can totally tell that my sticky solvy, I didn't print it at the right printer settings because it's smaller even than the inside of the hoop. You're not going outside, girlfriend. No way, Jose. She's just got up looking at me like, please, please. Okay. That's what we want to see. We want to see that nice drum tight look to it like that. Okay. Now, the other thing that you need to look at and think about what is life today, all right, is if you run your finger around the outside, sometimes you can feel where it dips a little bit, okay? And if you have that, it means that your hoop is not tight in that area. So it won't be with this one because this is a plastic hoop. But I know, please don't lay right there. But I know this one here, do you see how it dips like that? Now this is really, really tight, okay? And it still has a dip, and that's because there's a gap in my hoop. So what you can do is mark the gap, like maybe from here to here, and on the inside of the ring, you can wrap that little bit with washi tape if you want to, or some people use like cotton strips, and you can wrap it and wrap it and wrap it just in this area because this is where it's not very tight, and then that will tighten that right up for you so that you don't have to hold it like this whilst you stitch it, because we want to keep our hoop nice and tight. Okay. All right, so now we're at transferring our pattern. So obviously the first way you could do it is to print your sticky solvy, print your pattern on the sticky solvy. All right, this is a really big piece. So I also took one strand of black, I stuck it on, okay? You wanna try and print it at obviously 100%, but if you can get it to be like a light gray color in your printer settings, then try and do that. Okay, I just did mine regular black, which is not a big problem. But if you've got like a inkjet printer, sometimes the big thicker lines with the color and everything, when you go to wash off the sticky solvy, they have said that sometimes they can bleed. So you might want to try it before you commit to the big hoop. I have a laser printer and I haven't had any kind of bleeding or anything like that with any of my hoops. But that doesn't mean that you won't. Do you know what I mean? Because every printer is different. I don't know what's the deal with it, but printers are just a mystery. Don't ever let them know that you're scared or that you need something as soon as possible, because they'll know. They'll know and they'll just give up on you. Okay, so the first thing I did was obviously you peel off the paper. I don't know if you know how sticky solvy works. Let's just cut one here. Okay, so you print it and you peel off the paper like this, and it's just sticky on one side. So this is the sticky side, and this side feels like a fabric, almost like an interfacing. Okay, and that's why I don't tend to use interfacing when I use the sticky solvy, like for the stick and stitch packs, because it works as an interfacing. So it's nice and sticky on the other side. Now, when you have such a big piece, like a 9-inch piece, sometimes as you're stitching on it, do you see how it's got like bubbles in it and stuff? Yeah, and sometimes it can kind of come off and the stickiness can wear off. So that's why I've done just a nice running stitch all the way around. Now, it's a little bit annoying because as you come up on the edge, really close to the edge, sometimes it can unstick itself a little bit, but that's totally fine. I just did a really small one, and then I can remove it later if I want to, like if it's showing like around here. I can just cut that out and pull it out, and it will be gone after I wash the sticky solvy off, okay? So the sticky solvy is one way you can do it. Do you have to do this running stitch? No, you don't have to. But it's just to kind of help you to keep it stuck down, because I know working with sticky solvy on such a big piece, sometimes it can become unsticky, basically, over time. Okay? Now the other way is to cut out your pattern, just like we have already done. Let me just see if I've got a smaller pattern so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Get my pattern box over here. Too big. Okay, here's one. Here's a 5-inch. Okay, so what you're gonna do, all right, the first way is to cut it out, and you're gonna stick it right behind, like that, all right? Now, I use blue tack. You can get it at like a office supply store. And I like to put 3 pieces, like 1, 2, 3. but 2 is okay too. Okay. And then you can trace your pattern right on there using the utensil of your choice. All right. The second way is you can put this pattern flat on your desk or up to a window. And let's find the middle and lay it straight over like that. And then you can trace it. Now, the way I did the patterns with nice dark lines, I know it looks a little bit wacky here. It looks like, oh my gosh, Tori, this is going to be so difficult. But the lines are nice and dark like that so that you can easily see them through a window or from behind like that. Okay, so sometimes I'll just like press my fingers along like that and then you can see how it is. Now, if you don't have a printer, you can use your computer screen, which I'll show you in just a minute, or you can use your iPad, which I've just got it here. Put it on the brightest that your iPad can go, and then you should be able to trace from there. And it helps if you go into a darker room, because obviously I have the skylights there, and then I've got the French doors there. So I have a lot of light in this room, okay? But you can see all of the pattern really easily like that, all right? Lots of people ask about the guided access, which is a setting. If you go to your settings and you go to accessibility, and at the very bottom, there should be a button called guided access, and turn it on. And what it is you push the home button 3 times, okay? And you draw your circle wherever you want the screen to stay put. So I can do anything I want to this middle part here, and it will not move. Anything outside of the circle, I can still touch, okay? So you want to make sure that however you have it set, you're not going to like work in that area. Do you know what I mean? So you just do your guided access. You could put it on like that. Now, some people like to stitch like this with the pattern on the inside. I like to stitch like this because I can hold it like that. And that's how I normally do my stitching. And you can stitch like that. That's okay. If you haven't got a printer again and you haven't gotten an iPad and you're like, Tori, come on, like you're killing me. You can also use your computer screen. So let me... Is it a little bit more difficult? Yeah, probably. But is it... I just use my finger on the screen to try and scroll it up. Oh my God. Okay. So you might have to do it in 2 bits. Yeah? So you might have to do the bottom half and then scroll up and do the top half. I have a really small computer. It's only 11 inches. So it is quite small. All right. The other thing that you can do is not use a 9-inch hoop and instead cut up your pattern and use the different parts for different things, okay? So, for example, let's do the cat one. Say that you just would like to do the cat and the girl. You can get a hoop like that, yeah? Cut it out and then just trace this part and do just that little part, all right? So you want to do the blanket and the pot, you can just trace that part on a smaller hoop and just do that part. If you like the shelves and you think, actually, the shelves would look nice, just trace that part. So if you're looking at this and thinking, this is very overwhelming, I do not have a 9-inch hoop, there's no way I can do this. Actually, you can. Just cut it down into smaller pieces that are a bit more manageable for you and do it that way. Now, other people said, can I just take parts out? Like if I don't want a cat, of course, just connect the lines. Yeah? If you don't want the girl in the chair, just connect the lines. Okay? So hopefully that will help for tracing and stuff. The only thing we have left to talk about is colors. Now, the easiest The easiest thing I can say about colors is pick the colors that you like and do it step by step. So let me just tidy this up so I can get out the colors that I got. My box of colors. Now I went with more muted colors, like autumnal kinds of colors for mine. And this is how I did it. So let's just take this out, take that out. Okay, so this is how I did it. I had a look at the pattern, yeah, and I said for the plants, let's do those first because one, they're easier, and two, you know what color plants can be, okay? So I wanted a darker color for that one. I just took out my pattern like this and literally went like that. That's done. I just want one color for that. Now obviously I pulled these all out first, okay? And how I did that was literally just what colors I liked. So I went with the like more autumnal color theme, yeah? So I got a lot of browns, a lot of like yellow ochre colors, red, a rusty orange, plant colors. Yeah, I just pulled them all out and kind of made sure that none of them stood out too much, okay? And then from there, I just started assigning colors. So maybe I wanted the rug to be white and gray, or maybe that's too dark, so maybe a lighter gray. And then I want some plant pots to be these colors. Let's do the chair like a leather chair. Okay, then we've got maybe some cactus up there, so that's maybe a brighter color green. Literally just lay them on there and then see if they all look good together. Now, there's lots of options that you can have, like what color are shelves? Okay, what color are ladders? The other way is to just go balls to the wall and do whatever the hell you want. So you don't have to have a muted color palette. It doesn't have to look like your ideal living room, okay? It doesn't have to look like a Pinterest thing. Can you go to Pinterest and save some photos of living rooms that you like? Of course. Do that. If it helps you, do it. But it doesn't have to be like a real place. It could be like your favorite, like imaginary, colorful place. So you could have a green sofa or a pink sofa. You could have like a neon colored rug or a bright purple ladder. It doesn't matter. Like you can pick whatever colors that you want. Colors it's hard because a lot of people think there's too many colors and I can't pick. How am I ever going to know? But you just try, just give it a go and you'll be able to do it. So also I keep posting the picture of my progress and how it is so far. So you can kind of think I need a color for the floor. What color am I going to do for that? Or I need 2 colors for, the background details. Or I've got books on the shelf. What color can I do the books? It doesn't have to be a real life situation thing. But it could be. It could be like your dream living room. Like if you could design your own living room, what would it be like? If you had no limits for money or what you could afford or what there even is, what would you make? There's lots of things that you could do with it. So please, please, please don't get discouraged by, I don't know what color to do, because you could literally make it any color you wanted and it would be okay. So I just did white skirting boards. I did a small black outline and I did the same thing for the shelves because in my house, they are white shelves. The ladder, I tried to make like a wood effect. To know how successful that is, but in my mind, it looks like wood. Yeah, Amelia, that was the other thing I was going to say, is that print off a couple of these and get out your coloring pencils, get out your crayons and your markers, and just give it a go. Color it in and see what you like. If you have a iPad, you can take a screenshot of the PDF and put it into an app like Adobe or Procreate and start dropping colors in and see what colors that you like. Okay? So hopefully, just spit. That's fantastic. It's like my worst nightmare come true. So glad I got that out of the way. So hopefully that goes over some things. I will tell you right now, I've not used about half of these colors that I picked out, but it's nice to have a good mix, you know, so things that you could use. So I've got a lot of browns that I haven't used yet. I've only used 1, 2, 3, 4 really, and I think I've got about 7 or 8 browns in here. So I like to grab more than I need, really, but just take it one thing at a time. What color do you want your picture frame? What color do you want your vase? We do have small little flowers here, small little flowers at the top of your cactus, but most of it is plants. So think greens. What color greens do you like? Also, you think about the color fabric you're going to have. So a big part of my problem was I chose this fabric, but not every color can go on this fabric because it won't show up. So for example, I picked this right here for the rug, but actually this color is not going to show up very well on the fabric. And the same with this one. I literally picked the same color fabric. So that was going to be her pants, which it still might be, but still, you know, you kind of want to think a little bit strategically in that aspect, because you don't want to get stuck with something that you put all the work in and then you're like, oh, can't see that. So you can kind of tell on the back what it's going to look like, kind of, with the colors that I've picked. So I think that's all. You obviously need scissors. A couple other tools I like is obviously the blue tack. Yeah, for doing the pattern on the back. I like to get a good pair of tweezers. These are just regular tweezers from Boots, I think, but you can get them from anywhere. They're just the regular kind that you use for like eyebrows and stuff. Don't use them for hair. They're really great if you decide to change your mind and you need to pick out all the stuff. I also use them to get Jesse's hairs off because I do a lot of stitching on the sofa and then I get a bunch of Jesse's hairs on there, as you can see. Okay. The other thing I like is a small comb. Again, not for hair, but any kind of turkey work. So we might do that, we might not. So don't go out and buy one if you haven't got one, because you can just use your needle. But I think that's it. I think we've talked about everything. Obviously, if you have questions, then send me a message and I'm happy to chat with you. Obviously, with colors, it's going to be a little bit difficult because I'm not you, and so you might like something different than I like. But yeah, use what you have. It's not going to be really difficult as far as stitches. It's going to be difficult as far as the amount of stitching you'll do. So I know I keep saying it, but I think a couple people are really freaked out by the size and it looks complicated, but actually it's not that complicated. So I've used stitches strategically. They're all stitches that I've taught before. You've learned them before. If you've done the greenhouse stitch along, the one that we just finished, almost every single stitch that we learned so far is in here. So there's only 2 or 3 that are in here that I didn't teach in this. So if you've done this, you could definitely do that. If time is the reason that you're like, ooh, I can't do it because of time, honey, I can't do it because of time. Like there's no way. There's no way that you're going to get all of this done in the allotted time. Okay, so say we start with the background. You're not going to get the background done on the first day. You're just not. All right, but the show must go on. I'll teach another thing the next day, and if it takes you 3 months, it takes you 3 months. It might take me 3 months. Who knows? So please don't let that stress you out. Jessie's just staring at me now. She's like, I want to go out. The blue tack is for, so go back and watch the video, obviously, but the blue tack is for securing your pattern to the inside so that you can trace it without it moving, okay? So in the video, I show how I put it like that, and then you don't have to hold it. It stays by itself. Because this is going to be really details heavy, it'll be a really big help so that you don't have to, you know what I mean? I'm going to invest in sticky solvay so I can use the colored fabric also. Yeah, definitely. And have a think about doing that running stitch all the way around the outside. Yeah, because it does come unstuck sometimes. So obviously when we're doing the smaller stick and stitch designs, it doesn't happen as much because they're so small. Do you know what I mean? But with such a big piece, because we're working on it a lot, yeah, sometimes it's a little bit, it's not my favorite way to do it, but on darker fabrics, it's nice. It's really nice. So I think that's it from me. Is there a fabric color you wouldn't recommend? Nope, that's completely up to you. Completely up to you. Just however you feel like, whatever color you like, really. Mel says, I use sticky solvay with good results. Yeah, it's not so much the results that I don't like. It's the stitching through it that I don't like and how sometimes it will come unstitched. The other thing is that if you're accident prone, please take every beverage you can away from this because I've already spilt tea on mine and it started to dissolve in the corner. Thank goodness it was only here and there. But yeah, I definitely spilt my drink on this. So if you're accident prone like me, put it out of the way if you're drinking. And it was only tea, but if you need a beverage whilst you're stitching. All right, well, I think that's it for me. If you have any questions at all, pop in my DMs and I'll chat it out with you. But give it a go. I think it'll be really fun. We've got a good number of people joining already, which is very surprising to me. But yeah, I'm excited and I hope you are too. So don't forget, it starts in 2 weeks. It starts the 3rd. So we still have a bit of time, but I thought I would do the prep video a bit early so that you have it here. So enjoy your day. It's Tuesday, by the way. And yeah, I'll speak with you soon. Bye.